we're going to do today is to learn how to use Eclipse. So to try to head off all the questions I'm going to get about how do I install Eclipse at home, I'm going to show you kind of roughly by in fact installing it right here, right now on my machine. So what you want to do is to go to eclipse.org, and you see on there, let's do, okay, right. You don't have to follow along, but if you do, that's fine as well. So you go to eclipse.org, and then you click on download. Not a big secret. And my internet is working, but just in case it's not, this is the page you'll get. This is the next page. And then there are many options, different kinds of Eclipses you can download. So in fact, Eclipse is not only for Java, it also works for other programming languages. And you may want to use it for other programming languages eventually, but the one we want is this third one on this list that says Eclipse IDE for Java developers. That's the simplest one, I think, and the smallest. And you click on that, it's 166 megabytes, so it's not small, but you click on that, you download it, you get a file that you unpack, either with unzip, or if you're on Windows, you right-click and say extract contents. So you should be able to do that. If you can't, kind of ask Ademi. But what ends up happening is that here in downloads, you end up with a file called Eclipse Java Mars 2, and it happens to say Mac OS X because that's my operating system. Eclipse releases a new version of itself. The company releases a new version of the platform about every 6 months. And each new version is called after a different solar system entity. So this is called Mars. The one before was called Kepler, K-L-M. The one before was called Luna, L-M. And the next one is called Neon, I think. I don't know why they called it Neon and not Neptune. Maybe there was a Neptune long ago. Bottom line is that every 6 months there's a new Eclipse that you may want to download, new features, but I stick to the Eclipse for years on end and nothing bad happens. So it's okay not to update all the time. It's a really nice platform. It's improved a lot, like all these IDEs. And I wouldn't say this one's perfect, but it's definitely good enough for us. Many of the people in the That's fine. I'm thinking. I'm not mad at you. Many of the people in the third year and second year and honors, and by people I mean lecturers and students, use Eclipse. It's convenient to have one platform that everybody knows, so we don't have to repeat everything from 5 or 6 platforms. But there are many others. So some people like NetBeans, some people like IntelliJ, and I can't think of the others' names, but there are alternatives. You don't have to use Eclipse, but you ought to know how to use it at least. So I'm going to show you Eclipse, but if you use something else, that's fine. Even in this course, it's fine. Just make sure that you do know the basics. So I've downloaded my Eclipse file. All I'm going to do is to unpack it. And if this were a zip file, I'd say unzip Eclipse, but Unix has a special command, tar xzf Eclipse. It takes a little while, and now it created this directory called Eclipse.app on a Mac. And it's in my downloads directory at the moment, but I don't want to keep it here. I don't want to store it here permanently. So I'm going to go to my home directory, make a directory, a folder called bin. I'm going to go inside bin, and I'm going to move this Eclipse.apps here. And this is going to be my Eclipse IDE. To make it slightly more convenient, I'm going to open up a folder and make a link to Eclipse in my doc here. And I think I can now open it. And my computer complains because it's downloaded from the internet, could be bad, but it's not. And I just started Eclipse. So that's how easy it is to install. Apart from the fact that I didn't physically download the file, this is exactly how I would install and have installed Eclipse thousands of times. And Eclipse will start up, and we're all very happy about that. You don't have to install Eclipse if you work in Narga. Let's just see if this works. Doesn't work as well as I hoped. The function is not available. Okay, do I have to go? Maybe I have to switch this on. Ah, there we go. So this is my Linux desktop. The same one you ought to. What? No. It's the camera that switched on. Let's ignore that. So, oh man, just give me a second. Okay. Let's see what happens. Oh. Well, screw you. Off. I'm pretty sure if I do that. Oh, there we go. Okay, right. So this is what you want to see, or something like this when you log into your Narca account. And you don't have to install Eclipse, as I said. You should be able to go to Applications and Programming, because you want to program, and run Eclipse from here. Let's see what happens. Oh, this is so old. It's using Indigo. This is a really old Eclipse. And roughly everything I tell you today will work exactly the same on Indigo and on this new Mars. Just for your own sanity, I'm going to try to stop by 4 o'clock. So I'm not going to carry on too long. Okay, right. So once I start up Eclipse, it asks me where I want to store all my programs. Because Eclipse will set up what it calls a workspace for me. It says select a workspace. And everything I write will be stored in there. I ought not to go in there and Java C things myself. Eclipse will do all of that for me. I'm just going to switch back to my Mac because I like it a little better and I know it a little better. There you go. Oh, there you go. And basically, it's exactly the same, right? So, well, I like working on a Mac. And you've seen my Mac, you're familiar with it, won't frighten you. Right, so first issue, I started Eclipse and it asked me where do you want to put all your files. And now I'm allowed to select some folder where I want to put all my stuff. And I can choose any folder I like. This default is usually fine. But let's say today I just want to put it in my home directory workspace. And this message will pop up every single time you start Eclipse. You guys haven't missed much. It's all on YouTube. Available at the low, low price of $0.00. This message will pop up every single time you start Eclipse. So if you don't want to see it again, you just want to choose the workspace once and for all, which is what most people do. Just click this little box that says, use this as the default and do not ask again. And then you click OK. And Eclipse will start up for real. And you'll get this beautiful screen. This is the intro screen. You'll never see it again. It only appears once at startup, and you have to do something special to get it back. And this screen is not useless. We don't want anything on the screen. If you really want, there are tutorials and samples, all that crap. But that's also online. What we really want to do is get into the real Eclipse, and for that we press on Workbench in the top right. So I'm going to click there, and this is the real Eclipse. This is what Eclipse looks like, and what we'll be using all the time. So it's a little confusing. At least it was confusing to me. When I started using Eclipse, I couldn't make head of tails of all the little buttons. There are thousands of buttons. We don't even see all of them. It's just so confusing. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of what's going on. But it's difficult if we don't have any programs. So maybe the best idea is to start writing a little program as like the first thing we do, before I tell you what's going on. Every new program you write needs to be in a project. So what we call something like an assignment or a task or an exercise or maybe even a program, Eclipse refers to as a project. So we have to start a new Java project. And to do that, you can either right-click here in this pane called Package Explorer, New Java Project, or you can press this little button over here, little down arrow, and New Java Project. Okay. And if I do that, Eclipse asks me, what do you want to call this project? Project name. And actually, there are many options to fill in, but I'm not going to do all of that. All I'm going to fill in is the name. So let's call it greet, finish, and Eclipse create the project for me. So now, in my Package Explorer, I have this thing called greet. That's the project. And if you write, let's say you're writing exercises, I create a project for each of the exercises in the TUT I solve, for example. So, right, if we open greet up, we see that it has two items. One is the source, where I'm going to put my source files, SRC, but it's short for source. And one is called the system library. That's just a link that shows me that Java or Eclipse is going to use the Java libraries that I know and love, system.out, math, not the ones from Sedgwick and Wayne, but we'll get to them later on. But all the things I need to write Java programs. And I don't need to worry about that at all. I can focus on source. But source is empty. There's nothing inside source. So I want to create a class inside source, a program file, a file that I store my class in. And I'm going to say new class. And again, it's going to ask me the name. So right here in the middle, it's asking me, what do you want to call this class? And I'm going to call it, well, you can call it anything. This is like the name of your program. You can call it whatever you want. But I usually stick to calling it the same thing as the project, unless something special happens. Greet. Many, many options, but we don't have to worry about them at all. Just a name, finish. Oh, great. So Java has, Eclipse, I'm going to confuse the two a lot. Eclipse has created a file called greet.java. Here it is. There we go. And it's inside something called a default package. Ignore. It's inside the source folder, inside the greet project. And it even opened up the contents of greet.java in the editor. And I'm just going to type my little program here, but it's a little tiny, so I'm just going to make this font a little bigger first. I can never remember fonts. Oh, text font. Let's go up to 18. Oh, and something else I want to do is to switch on the line numbers. Oh, it already switched on. So I like switching on line numbers because it shows me what line I'm on. So very useful, I'd say. Okay, right. So there we go. There's my program greet. I'm going to write the main routine. Now, as soon as I start typing, you'll notice that Eclipse is geospace. There are no open computers whatsoever. All of them packed. Oh, okay, right. So we thought this was going to happen. Won't you check? No, I think you should rather stay. Okay. I know you're not going to have a computer, but it's on YouTube. Just stay. It's not going to be long. So we thought we'd have overflow, and we are trying a little experiment. So in Narga H at the moment, Sean, the head teaching assistant, is trying to watch this class over YouTube, see if we can actually broadcast remotely. And here is the other Sean coming with the wonderful news that
Sean has gone home.
it didn't work.
Well, there's no overflow there, so.
I know, but there are two guys overflow here.
Are there people overflowing now? I will go catch him and tell him to go back.
Yes, sure. See if you can do that.
Great.
Okay. They're going to stay. I mean, obviously there's no overflow. What are those guys going to do? They're just going to sit there and wonder why am I not learning the Eclipse IDE? No, they're here until I say. What are you guys doing? You can't quit the course. But I asked you to leave long ago. Why didn't you go? Now you made those guys cry. Didn't think the class. No, leave him. Leave him. Leave him and his luxurious hot tub soaking lifestyle. There should be another open computer. Listen, I'm going to come around and watch your screen. If you haven't written a Greek program soon, I'm going to kick you out violently. Computer Science 114. Are you 114? You just say it. Oh, but you can sit down at least. You can sit on the chair. Oh, okay. Go to the working ones. Good. All right. Back to me. Now, as soon as I'm going to start typing, Eclipse is going to do something odd. It's going to autocomplete for me, just like on a cell phone. You guys have cell phones, don't you? They do autocomplete. And Eclipse is going to do the same thing, I think. Nothing yet. It didn't do much. Okay, I may have to prompt it a little bit. So if you want to prompt Eclipse to autocomplete a word for you, and this is really important stuff. In a second, you're going to wish that you had listened to what I said. If you want to prompt Eclipse to autocomplete a word for you, you have to press, I think, on your computer's control space, and on my computer it's command space. And I'm going to switch on a little gadget that ought to show you what I'm typing. So control space. There we go. Oh, no, that didn't work at all. Control space. Ah, see? So now it's trying to, giving me recommendations. So I want to do void. Okay, you guys are still, listen, you may not find a space. I know. Because we had a tiny overflow, and we thought we'd activate the other lab. Oopsie doopsie. Are you hurt? Okay, fine. But then illegals left, and then we had space again, and then I told them to go home. So now you just need to find a little comfortable space to sit. You have chairs. Okay, there are ones over there. At least there are chairs. Right. As I was saying, I'm typing, and Eclipse is auto-completing. And if it's not auto-completing, I can kind of prompt it. You want to borrow the chair. Isn't there one single open chair? There we go. I want this chair. That's just too bad. She's not your sitter next to. I'm sorry, I know you're friends, but I want the chair. Because my back is hurting already. My back is hurting already. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Midnight Tunes. Here we go. Hello, audience. If I want to autocomplete, once again, I'm going to press, that's an escape sign, but control space. You can see in the bottom, it says control space. Well, not very clearly. And Eclipse will actually suggest what it thinks I should be typing. So you can see on this list, it thinks I should type a void. That's its best guess. But it has a few other things I might want to type. But I do want to type void. I'll just press tab, which I think will select it. Yes. and main. And this autocomplete works on all kinds of things. So if I press Control Space now, I get a list of what I could possibly want to type. Strict math, never heard of it. String, that's what I want. String, bracket, brackets, args. Oh, look, it even filled in the brace for me, the closing brace. So I didn't have to do that. And it's auto-indenting. This is going a lot faster than in class. Now, let's say that I'm in a big, big hurry. You've just heard that a big tsunami is about to hit Cape Town, and the only way to save the city is for you to quickly write a small Java program that displays "Hello World" on the screen. But you have to be quick, because the tsunami is coming. Dum, 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 dum. What are you going to do? Well, if you're clever, you're going to learn a few shortcuts. Eclipse is so neat. If I type main, nothing, none of the other fancy stuff, just main, and I press Control Space, the first suggestion it's giving me is main, the main method. And it even shows me what it will look like. And if I just press down, up, enter, it fills out the whole main for me. Okay. I'm going to be honest. There are only two shortcuts I know and ever use. One is called main, which is for writing the main method. And the other one is called sysout. And that's because I'm too lazy to type system.out.println. So if I type sysout, Control Space, it automatically fills out system.out.println. And this, people, is the secret to my success. This is how I got where I am today. I know main, I know sysout. Right. Okay, let's type. Hello world. Okay. As in any editor or program you use, there are a few keys that are so useful you will memorize them. And in Eclipse, it's saving a file. You must know how to do this. So, as in almost all systems, it's Control S, or on a Mac, Apple S, and that saves the read file. If I change it, you'll see that Eclipse put a little, this is a little too loud. Okay, going to sound like some kind of auctioneer. Okay, Eclipse puts a little star next to greet.java right there at the top to tell me that it's not been saved. And actually, Eclipse is so clever that I just delete what I type now. No, it won't. Okay, clearly not that clever. Who's the clever one now, Eclipse? I think if I undo, no, never mind that. Forget that I did anything. So my file at the moment is not saved because there's a little star there that shows me, and also this little disk up here is active. So I can click on that to save, or as this hint says, I can press Apple S, Command S, Control S. Okay, right. So we know how to make a project. We know how to use Eclipse's autocomplete, and we know how to save our files. You must be careful. If you're writing your program, you can't just assume it will be saved. You must save it actively. Otherwise, you'll be running an old program. The great thing about Eclipse is I don't have to ask it to compile this program, because every single time I make a change, just like a change like that, Eclipse will recompile it automatically in the background. So all the time it's running Java C, Java C, Java C, Java C, almost all the time. That's not strictly true, but mostly. And so if I save it, I usually save it just for good luck. It's been compiled, and I can run it immediately by going up here. It says run, and I'm going to click on, no shortcut key for run. I'm going to click on run. And down here, in what it calls the console, it shows me hello world. So this is great stuff. I mean, it makes my life a lot easier because I don't have to switch between the editor and the command line all the time. I don't have to recompile myself all the time. Eclipse will do it for me. And I can just click on one button and it'll run my program. So you can imagine why using IDE like this is more convenient. And there are also other things that make it convenient. Yes. Okay. Next. Thank you. Next. Just a small intermission, and then I'll get to command line arguments. I found Eclipse extremely confusing when I started out using it. In fact, I stopped using it because it's so horrible. And just look at all these little buttons. Everywhere there's a little button. If you think you've seen them all, there are tons of little options everywhere, and the menus are just crowded with all kinds of crap. Okay, don't even know what all this stuff does. So just for the screen that I see, I want to make it a little easier to use. So I usually go down here and I close the task list because I never ever use that. And then this outline is quite useful because it shows me what goes on inside my program. So if I had another method in here, public static void bar, set out control space. If I had another method like this, okay, you've got to watch this because this is kind of cool. I've got a method called blah, and I've got my main method. And Eclipse actually lists them in this outline that shows me a nice outline of what's going on in my program. And this is kind of really powerful, not kind of really, but it's quite powerful because I can do things like this. I've got to watch closely. I'm going to click on main and drag it up there. Okay, so now main is above blah. And also in the outline, main comes before blah. So that kind of stuff is useful, and you actually do sometimes want to use it when you've got an enormous big program and you want to start changing things and all that kind of stuff. Let's talk about command line arguments. So I'm going to close, not close in Greek, but I could close it there. But I'm going to try to make a new project that'll use command line arguments. Java project, I'm going to call it add. And add is all empty. I'm going to go to source and say, well, you could say right-click, new class, or if you get to know Eclipse really well, if you get on first name terms, you can just highlight source and click this little button here. That one there, it says new Java class. Click, click, click. I'm going to write a program called add. Oh, first line can go away. I'm going to have a main routine. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. The outline is kind of crowding my screen real estate. I don't like it when it's on the right-hand side. So if you want, you can rearrange things and drag it down here. There we go. And I've got a nice big space to edit in. Also, if you quit Eclipse and restart it, it won't show you this view because you've now changed it. So just remember that you have to save the view, perspective. It's called perspective. Save the perspective as Java. Okay. Replace Java perspective. Yeah, replace it because this will be my Java perspective. Fine. And if I quit Eclipse now, I'll show you in a second, and restart, I'll see this perspective again. Good. So I want to use command line arguments. I'm going to have an A, which is an int. And I'm going to switch off the stupid little. Switch off. No. There we go. Okay. Integer dot. Oh, it's filling it out for me. Okay. Yeah, I want that one. I want args. Control space args 0. Semicolon. Same story, args 1. Oh no, look what I've done. I've made a mistake in my program. What is going on? I just don't know what I did wrong. I take my little mouse and I hover over this little light bulb with the cross next to it, and it says arg cannot be resolved to a variable. Now, that's just a so-so helpful comment because it doesn't really tell me that I should be using args. But often, this error message is quite informative and can help you solve issues. So if you have made a mistake, Eclipse will pick it up like this, and you can hover over here, and I think you can even hover over here. Oh, okay. Oh, look, this is much more useful. It says arg cannot be resolved to a variable. So create a local variable called arg. No, change to args. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to change arg to args, and it fixed my mistake. So Eclipse can be really useful. Now there's another problem, another issue. It says the value of the local variable a is not used. I've declared a, but I'm not using it inside the main routine. So that's because I'm not done yet. I'm going to say sysout control space a plus b. I'm going to save by pressing Command S, and then I'm going to run by clicking on this little button. Ooh, and Java complains immediately. It says array index out of bounds exception. I tried to access index 0 in args, but there are no command line arguments. I put nothing on the command line, so Java can't find arg0. Now, this is the trickiest part of Eclipse. To supply command line arguments to your program is actually quite complicated. And I'm going to show you, but soon, maybe even tomorrow, we learn of a different way of accessing the command line arguments, almost. So just for today, to supply command line arguments to this program add, I have to do the following. I have to go to run, and then I have to go to run configurations. So that is a menu item that tells Eclipse how to run. What are the configurations for running my various programs? So I'll click on there. It shows that I've got two programs that I've written that I can run. One is called add, that's the new one I wrote, and one is called greet, that's the first one that just prints hello world. There are also these other things, but they're all empty. I haven't written any of these other kinds of programs, and I'm not going to ever. In fact, I'll tell you that in my whole life, I've never used any of these other command configurations. I only ever use a Java application. So I'm going to go to add, and the second tab here says arguments. That's what I want. Program arguments. Good. I want to add 11 and 78. And I know that ought to give me 89. That should appear on the screen. So I say apply this to the program and run it. And now it prints the answer. And if I want to add 11 to 79, I have to go back, run configurations, go to add arguments, 79, maybe say just run. But it's really tedious. So tomorrow we'll find a different way of doing that. But at least today, we don't need that. Is everybody happy? Is everybody clear? Okay. I mean, there are loads of stuff you still want to do with Eclipse that you still need to learn. But these are the basics. And you can actually get quite far with just what we've done. I'm going to show you one more thing that's kind of dangerous. We don't really like showing it to students, but you will discover it on your own, and I'll be honest, sometimes it is useful. Now, when you write a program and it compiles fine, it compiles, there are no mistakes in it, but it doesn't execute correctly. So your program computes the wrong result. If you want to find the mistake, what do? Well, you can add some print line statements to your program that kind of shows you what it's doing, especially if it's complex. And that'll help you to understand what is this program doing, this incorrect program. Where is it going wrong? And that's important. It's important to understand what you've written, to be able to read someone's code and to think to yourself, this is going to execute like this and this and this. And I don't think that's right. I think there's a bug in this code. Without even running it, you ought to be able to look at code and see that there are bugs in the code. You ought to be able to understand code. But let's face it, sometimes code is really, really, really complex. And even though you know the language well, you know how to write Java, you know for loops, you know do while loops, you know break statements, you know static methods, all that stuff. You still can't find the mistake. It's just too convoluted. It'll be great to be able to kind of watch the program as it's running and know exactly what it's doing. And Eclipse has that feature. It's called a debugger, and Eclipse can do that for us. So that means we have to write a third program that's quite complex. I'm going to make this a little smaller. I don't care about that. Okay. I'm going to make a new Java project. I'm going to call it convoluted. Okay. And inside convoluted, it's empty, but I'm going to create a class. Okay, and for once, I'm going to give it a different name. So I'm just going to call it conv, because actually convoluted is too long to type. There we go. There's class conv. And I'm going to have a main. And in my main, I'm going to have an x, which is www of. And I'm going to have a y, which is v of x and I'm going to have a z, which is x, y, and v, y, and x. Same kind of stuff I did in class the whole day yesterday, and you kind of did in the test as well. And last thing is I'm going to print x and y and z. I'll just print the sum. I mean, I don't have to type the spaces in between them. Good. So I'm going to print one number, x plus y plus z, and x, y, and z is defined by these horrible expressions. So at the moment, I don't even know what w and v, www and vvv are, but they're clearly static methods that I haven't written yet. And you must check this out. Eclipse is so cute. So if I go, give me a second. If I go here and hover on www, it says the method www that takes an int and a second int is undefined for the type conv. So it's undefined in class conv. And there's one fix available, according to Eclipse. So we wanted to do an experiment where Sean watches YouTube in our age and actually shows it on the screen, so that if this room grows full, as it is at the moment, and such that there is no little others on this chair, please. So people can watch in our age, and I only have to do this once. Okay, so I was about to say that Eclipse is so cute. It tells me that www is not defined, there's no such method, but it offers a quick fix. It'll create a method for me. So if I click on here, it's actually created www for me. Only issue is it put private at the start, and I don't want that. I want public. So because we don't know anything about private, it's stupid. Don't like it. Okay, fine. So there's www, and I just need to fill in the code. So I'm going to fill in complex code. I'm going to fill in R is 0, and I'm going to do a for loop that says Q is 0, Q goes up to I, Q plus plus, and R is R plus J, return R. Okay, sometimes the font's a little too big, the screen is a little too small. If you do want to zoom in on a window, any kind of window, you can always just double click on its name. Admittedly, it didn't do much, but if I had a bigger screen and a smaller font, it would. Okay, fine. A little more real estate. Okay, fine. So I've defined www, and now it's still complaining about www. So I'm going to ask it to create that method as well. Once again, it says it's private, but I'll make it public because we don't know what private means. And I am going to write, I don't want to write too complex code here. I'll write, I'll simply return. Well, now the parameters are called X and www. These are the parameters names that Eclipse suggested. So I guess I'll call it that. But you can see why Eclipse thought that these are good parameter names, because when I passed them, I passed a variable called X and a function called www, so just guess those names. 1 second. Yes, did you want to ask something? We're going to start it fast. No one else. Well, it's anyone. I can see who's hand is up. You're just scratching your head. Okie dokie. That's fine. Okay. Right. So I'm not happy with the name www for, it's fine for this function. This static method is fine. It can be www. I don't care. But this variable, it's kind of a stupid name. And I want to rename this variable. But if I change it here, I'll probably have to change it in 1,000 places. Every time I use this variable, I have to change it. Now Eclipse is going to help me. I'm going to right-click. Oh, big menu. I can feel a migraine. Okay, but never mind. I can deal with this. Loads of stuff. But let's just go to one called refactor. And then it says I can rename the variable. That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to rename www. I'm going to call it B. Did you see? Everywhere where this www appears, Eclipse has renamed it to be B. If I change it to bet, Eclipse changes, I'm going to change it to Better. Okay, and Eclipse changes it every single place that only this variable occurs. This other instance of www has not been affected because this is the name of a static method. It's only this variable called ptr twir2 that has been changed as I change it. So I'm going to call it B. Enter new name, press enter to refactor. Yes. Good. And I want to change the name of X as well. So I noticed that to do that, there's a shortcut key combination. On this computer, it's Alt Command R, and I can just call it A, enter, and it changes all the references to this variable. Okay, so that's extremely convenient. But now that I've written this little program, I must admit that I've got no idea what it's going to do. I don't know what on earth how it's going to execute. So I'm going to save it, double click to unzoom. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it. And let's just see what happens. So I'm going to run conf.java. Yes, that's what I want. Oh, okay. And it outputs in the console, it outputs 702. Let's say that I knew that answer is incorrect, and that I knew the correct answer should really be 703. Where did I make my mistake? I have no idea. And I can put in a lot of print statements to try to see what is happening inside this program. But as I mentioned before, there is something called a debugger. It doesn't do it for you, but at least it shows you what's going on. So right next to this play button that I used for run, there's a little bug. And it says debug conv. And if I press this, it's going to show me a different kind of perspective. Everything on the screen is going to change. It's going to go to a different place. I'm going to go out of the Java perspective, which is actually shown here in the top right corner. I'm in Java perspective. And it's going to switch to the debug perspective, which actually looks dramatically different. In fact, let's do that. Very different, as you can tell. Very clever, Mr. Bond. Okay, that didn't work quite as well as I thought it would. But I was going to do, it doesn't matter. I'll just repeat this whole paragraph in a second. So I pressed the debug button, and the program was just running, because I haven't told it what I want to debug. So if I want to debug my program, I kind of have to tell Java what is it that I want to see. And the best and easiest and commonest way to do that is to mark some line in the program. I'm going to mark it. And Java is going to run, Eclipse is going to run the Java program. And when it gets to the line that I marked, it's going to stop the program. It's not going to terminate it. It's not going to be finished. It's just going to freeze it. It's going to freeze in time. And it's going to show me exactly what's going on. And then I can move that program. I can move it one step ahead to see exactly what Java or Eclipse is doing with my program as it's executing. So in fact, to see what my own program is doing while it executes. So okay, this time it's going to work. First, I'm going to mark a line. And the way to do that is to go right here, next on the left of the line number, and to double click. And as you can see, there's a little blue dot. I'm going to hover. It says line breakpoint. That's kind of marker that I want the program to stop here. It's called a breakpoint. And when I debug, it's going to run my program until it gets to a breakpoint, and then it's going to stop. So let's debug again. Let's see if I can get that debug perspective. Aha! It says confirm perspective switch. This kind of launch is configured to open the debug perspective when it suspends. It's going to suspend my program. This debug perspective is designed to support application debugging. It incorporates views for displaying the debug stack, variables, and breakpoint management. Do you want to open this perspective now? And I do. And in fact, I do not want you to ask me every single time I just press the little button. So remember my decision. And I say yes. And everything has changed. Well, not everything, but it's very different. I still have a little editor window, but it's now in the middle of the screen. I have my outline of my program over here, and it's still showing me that there's a main and a VVV and a www. Down here is my console, and that's also fine. And then up here are two new windows. One is showing me all the variables I have in my program, including args. And over here, it's showing me what is actually running. And there's a lot of stuff here that I can't really see, but at least I can see that I can recognize that I'm in the main method of the conv class. And I'm actually in line 4. Line 4? Yes. OK. So what can I do next? Well, let's just first see if we can tell what the values of the variables are. So this is my list of variables, and at the moment it just has args in it. That's odd, because I've got an X and a Y and a Z in my program, but Java hasn't reached these declaration statements yet. So in some sense, X, Y, and Z, they don't exist. The program is halted just before it can actually declare the X. So the only variables I have are args, which come from the command line. And if I click on it to see if I can see what its value is, it says it's empty. It's an empty array. And that's why I can't do arg0. There are no command line arguments. OK, right. So now I want to execute just this first statement. And this may be a little overwhelming, but I suspect that you guys manage it easily. There are these buttons, new buttons, in fact, up here, and oops, and this one says step into. And then if I press that, it'll go inside www and it'll tell me what's happening here. But at least for this first declaration statement, I'm satisfied to just execute the whole line. So I don't want to go inside www to see what goes on inside it. I just want to do this one statement, this one declaration assignment, and move on to the next line. So I'm going to use the second button, which is called step over. I'm going to click on step over. It's going to step over this whole line and go to the next line, suspend my program there. But it's going to execute that one first line, step over. Oh, good. Okay, so it's halted at the next line. There's a tiny little arrow on the left that tells me I'm currently about to execute this line of code. I've already done the first statement. It declared X. There we go. And X's value is 12. So it called www, invoked that static method, it did some kind of calculation. It found that the answer is 12. It sent back the int 12, and Java stored the int 12 inside X. Okay. This time, I actually want to go inside. So I'm going to press this step into button next. So let's do that. Let's say step into. But look, it's tricky because I'm calling www and I'm calling www. So which one is it going to step into? That is the question. Let's see what happens. Ooh, it stepped into the www first. Why? Well, if we move back up, I want to call www with this value x, which I know is 12, and the value of www called with some other parameters. So to call www, I need to know the value of x, which I do, but I also need to know the value of this expression. And to evaluate this expression, I first have to go inside www. It'll send back a value, and then I can use that value and the value of x, and I can call www. So first I need to find out what is the value of www when I pass a 1 and a 2, and then I can find out what is the value of www and assign that to y. Right, so I'm inside. I'm just about to execute this line. As you can see, this time I've got two variables, I and j, and their values are 1 and 2, and that's because when I call www in main, I passed 1 and 2 to www. Damn it, I should have chosen a different name because having to say www all the time is exhausting. Okay, fine. So I'm about to execute this line. Int r equals 0. Let's step over it. Oh, good. So I'm at the next line. I'm about to execute the for loop. And I've actually created the variable r, and its value is 0. Can you see over there? Can you see these names and numbers? Well, if you can't, well, what can I do? I can actually make it bigger, but it's a lot of effort too. It's going to confuse you, so I don't want to do that. Okay. So now I'm about to begin the for loop. How does the for loop work? It'll make this, do this initialization. So it'll create a variable q. Its value will be 0. And it's going to start by checking is q less than I. So 0 less than I, which is 1. Let's do a step over. Okay, and it went inside the for loop. Because q has been created, its value is 0, and 0 is less than I. Now it's going to increment r, which is 0 at the moment, 0, by j, and j is 2. So it's going to add 2 to r. This must be really boring. Okay, I'm going to try to go a little faster. Add j to r, step over that line. Oh, so Eclipse has usefully drawn a yellow rectangle or highlighted R in yellow because its value has just changed. When I executed this R plus equals J, R became 2. Okay? I'm inside the for loop. First, I have to do the increment. Q must become 1. Then I'm going to check if it's less than I, which is 1, which it won't be. So I'll be done. I'm done with the for loop. I return R. R is 2. So I'm going to send back a value of 2 in this place. And Q is still 12. So let's see what happens if I step over. OK, so it is just finished with this value, or this evaluation of RW114. And I'm still on this line because I can still have the option of going inside VVV. So I'm going to go into VVV. Remember, X has the value 12. I can see it up here. And we've just figured out that www has sent back a 1. So I'm going to send over 12 and 1 to VVV. So I'm going to go inside VVV. Good. Oh, no, I made a mistake. www returned 2, and that's what I sent over to VVV. OK, right, fine. I hope I didn't confuse too many people. So VVV, I sent over 12 and 2. So A is equal to 12, B is equal to 2. I can actually see it up here. I'm going to send back the sum, so I'm going to send back 14. If I now do a step over, I'm still at this line because I just came back from VVV. And if I do step over one more time, it's going to take the 14 and put it inside Y. In fact, it's going to create Y because Y doesn't even exist. So step over, and it's going to create Y. And it's going to be equal to 14. And now I'm at the start of the next line, and I'm just too tired, and my time is up in any case to go into more of this. But you can see that it's really, really useful to watch your program and figure out exactly what is it doing. What is it doing? Is it executing the for loop enough times? Is it stopping too soon? If it's calculating some kind of sum, is it adding up the values correctly? What are the values of the variables? All that stuff you can answer. All those questions you can answer. When you're done debugging and you say stop, let's do that. So you can just stop the program immediately. I'm sick and tired and I'm going to stop. Only issue is that you're stuck in a debug perspective. It's still showing you the debug perspective. So you can change it by simply, on the right here, changing back to the Java perspective. This is the one we use most of the time. Some people never debug. I don't debug too often. So, say again? Oh. But you can go back to debug if you want by pressing debug perspective. Java perspective, debug perspective. Java. Okay. Anything else you want to know, you want to ask me? From now on, I'm going to use Eclipse in class almost exclusively. And I'm going to encourage you to use Eclipse in the tutorials as well. You can still use the command line, and it's really important, but you don't have to. Full stop. Anything else you want to ask? Everybody happy? Everybody want to go home? Who wants to stay? Who wants to go? Everybody wants to stay. That's fine. Okay. I can go on for another hour. Oh no, I've broken this little. Thanks, guys.